Hello and welcome back, and you guys know the score by now. This is another PS5 SSD test. Today we're looking at one of the most popular, the WD Black SN850. This is our fourth test of this SSD, and today we are looking at 5 new games. If we go into the storage menu there, we can have a look at the M.2 storage, and boom, we are looking at Terminator PS5, No Man's Sky PS5, Red Dead Redemption 2 for the PS4, Hitman III for the PS5, and Dead by Daylight for PS5. Now, the more astute of you will already have seen that a lot of these games here are the PS5 version of an original PS4 game. We're not utilizing any PS4 data here. All of the entire data lives on the M.2 SSD here, apart from obviously the exception being Red Dead, which is a PS4 game that's living on the M.2 SSD storage. None of this data resides on the console storage there. And again, I do recommend that you look at my other videos where we have taken a look not only at other SSDs but this SSD in 3 separate videos, and we saw a lot more information about moving the games back and forth, the speed they take and the process, as well as the setup benchmark. These are not going to be things that be included in this video, hence why I recommend you check out the other parts and why I've numbered them numerically. But let's go straight into our first game, which is Hitman III. And again, let's load into it there. Hitman 3, we are going to be utilizing 2 different areas of the game, Dartmoor and Mendoza. And we're using a custom mission that has been created. We're not going for the story mission, because the story mission has a lot of cutscene stuff that we don't really want to kind of go through too much there. And also because there is a lot more network connectivity. This game has a lot of network connectivity there in the background, and what we're trying to do is get to the meat and potatoes as much as we can. We're not even counting in the loading of the game, because as you can see throughout this entire process, there's been internet connectivity. And even if I disconnect this system from the internet, the result is about 4 different pop-ups, all coming at different times while it's trying to connect to the network. So again, nice and simple, we're going for largely offline resources. So we go to destinations. The first one is going to be Dartmoor, and we are going for the Baskerville Barney. And again, we're not going to complete the mission, we're just going to play it for a couple of minutes, because this game has got quite a lot of assets, a lot of long distance stuff. And for now, let's cut straight into the game. 3, 2, 1. Should be quite a quick load. I'm looking forward to showing you guys Mendoza, the second mission test, because that's going to be an enormous level to test some of these distant resources there. Hopefully on screen you can see both the internal PS5 version at the top left, and at the top right you can see the WD Black SSD. I'm just circling the camera there to give you some idea of the resources. We're going towards that building there in the distance, and the idea is we're just going to play this for a little bit of time, just to see how the game runs, make sure there's no drop in frame rate. Again, what we're trying to do is just proceed into the game to make sure there's no drop down, no drop in frame rate, no textures going wrong, all that kind of stuff. All we're trying to do here is just test the game and make sure things are running as fine as possible there. And for now, nearly got spotted there. We're going to take this fella out. And again, maybe this video should have a warning there. But again, for now, what we're going to do is pick stuff up. And again, we will be moving into the environment shortly. It's just if I try to move into the environment without an outfit, I'll be dead very, very quickly indeed. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and run into the premises like this. And again, I'll put the gun away. Now we can move around and have a look at some of the textures to make sure the game's running okay. Run into the building, and again, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be doing, how long it is till I'm going to get shot at. Again, everyone's kind of pissed about me. I'm presumably an outsider here anyway, in the garb of the security, but for now, textures of the game running fine. The lighting effects are still absolutely fine there. For me, that's still a very good test there. We're seeing a little drop in frame rate there, but I think that's a lot to do with all of the kind of hive of activity that I'm running right now. But I think that's fine, and I think for this, that counts for me as a good test. I think we can make our way into the other load system for this game at Mendoza. Again, this is being recorded in my own home here, so I apologise for the acoustics. But for this one, we go into Mendoza, and once again, this is a custom area here. This is the Pascal consortium. So we're going to go in now at 3, 2, 1. And this one, we're not going to do much combat in any regard. All we're going to be doing right now is running around the area, just because this is a very large area of the game, and this is a good way to show off a lot of the game's kind of assets real quickly. So for now, I'm just going to run straight up to this guy, take his outfit, and then run around the whole facility here. So for now, we can go ahead and knock him out. Again, we're just going to snap his neck, grab his outfit, you know, the huge. And for now, just going to run around the map, because this genuinely is an absolutely huge area. I'm sorry about my proximity, of course, to the microphone there, or the touching the buttons. I apologise for the clicky-clacky nature of those. But for now, as we can see, we're moving into the larger area here. This is just an incredibly huge area of the game, with a large focus on the number of AI and the number of NPCs dotted around. This is a hugely populated area, and I think that does get even denser as we move into this next area here. Again, I think I'm moving into a region that I'm really not supposed to be in. The lighting effects are still fine, the distance effects are still fine. For me, the game's running just as well as I would hope in this scenario. But for now, I think that counts it for me. I think we can knock it on the head for Hitman. The game is done, everything's done, and now we can make our way into the next game, which is of course Terminator, and we're going to be using the infiltration mode. Right, so we're loading up Terminator here, and for those that aren't aware, this again is a game that came out on the PS4 that's been upscaled to the PS5. We're going to be utilising the Terminator mode here, so flicking into the shoes of a Terminator and just sort of moving around quite a large map here, again, lighting effects, that sort of thing. It's a single load system. We're going to be loading from a preset default, no save game or anything like that. So let's kick off this game. Let's kick in from here at 3, 2, 1, go. Rapidly tapping there because there will be a pop-up there. And again, there is a cutscene on screen. So we're gonna let this one play out because there's no loading there in the background. But again, just because trying to skip this scene on either one of them would get out of sync. So we're going to keep this opening cutscene here just so we can measure them both up. But there isn't any loading happening here. If I wanted to, I could skip it. But we're not going to be skipping it here. We're just going to let it load up so we can measure the pacing of both of these games moving forward. I'm only going to play the game for a couple of minutes, but just to see how well both of them go. And again, we will flick between a couple of different view modes just to get a good idea of the texture changes and stuff like that. But for now, let's make our way in now, I believe. Making our way into the game. We're going to leave it in the red mode for now. Going to run on in. Carry on. Pretty sure we just killed that guy to death, which suits me. Go ahead, grab ourselves a quick gun. And carry on making our way through the map. As mentioned, there's a couple of different view modes here. But we're going to predominantly stick to the Terminator one because there's a lot more kind of activity there as we look through it. But again, all fairly standard stuff there. Having a look round, perfectly fine. The textures are all there. It's quite a barren landscape. Again, in terms of colour, this isn't exactly a game that's going to wow you anytime soon. But for now, all we're going to be doing is just running through to kind of get the game to force in a lot of those areas and textures and swap out between the low and high res stuff as needed. But for now, we're getting shot out by a sniper. Why not? Let him do his thing. But for now, yep, I'm quite pleased with this. It loaded quite normally. That felt like it loaded at pretty much the same pace of the PS5, if not better. And I think for me, I'm going to call that one an easy success. and I'm going to make my way onto the next game, which is of course No Man's Sky. Now, No Man's Sky, hell of a game, lots of problems in development. This game, again, we're not going to load this game from the title screen because there is an enormous amount of networking activity with this game. And although it is already established in the game as you play it, we're not going to harbour that too much. What we're going to do is load a creative mode on a brand new save, start on a planet, head to a space station, head back to a planet. Nice and simple. Again, we are just going to use a new save spot for this, and we're going to use creative mode. Do bear in mind that it's going to be very hard to synchronize these two activities side by side, and what we're looking at now is just to see that the game doesn't have any difficulties during loading. Also, it's worth highlighting, you may see a drop in frame rate during the loading of the title No Man's Sky on this. It's very common. It happened in numerous instances, and a lot of that is due to the game's own background network connectivity. So again, don't worry too much about that drop in frame rate. That's not too important. But for now, let's go ahead with it in 3, 2, 1, go. Heading our way through the stars, you see that slight drop in frame rate there. Yeah, as expected, it's happened several times, and again, it's largely unavoidable. It's in the game, it's, again, internal SSD, external SSD, doesn't make a vast amount of difference. All we care about now is just to push the game to do a few kind of secret loading transitions there. And again, it's going to be a different planet every time. This game is largely minimized. Let's go ahead and make our way into the sky. And again, we're looking to head towards the nearest space station. I will remember that the inverted controllers are there. So let's head out into the outside orbit and find ourselves a space station, which we've just found there on the map. So let's go for it there. Let's head into it. Again, nice and straightforward. We can still move around and look around and do all the usual stuff there. Very straightforward. Again, very hard to compare these two games side by side because one of the is completely randomized where you're going to start the game, so we don't know how far we're going to be from any preset area. So in this case, it's taking considerably longer to get to the space station. But again, we're looking at the transitions. We want to look at how the game introduces those textures. Is there going to be the low textures throughout? That sort of thing. We're not judging the games side by side too harshly. So for now, we can go ahead and make our way into that section of the ship. Again, I will try to remember about the controls not being inverted. But let's go ahead for now. We're making our way in. Anyone that's played this game before, if you played it at launch, do revisit this game. It is incredible now. But for now, we're making our way into the space station. We're just going to jump out, fly about a bit, jump back into the plane, and then head down to the surface of the nearest planet, whatever that may be. But for now, I'm seeing no texture problems whatsoever. Still able to use all that kind of stuff there. Still got the shiny effect, still absolutely fine, no problems. Camera's keeping up, no drop in frame rate. All of the things that you want to see. And now we'll make our way out of the space station into a new area. And then hopefully down to nearest planet, wherever that is, you'll do. So let's head in. Head into the planet. Again, we have no idea what to expect. And from there, we're seeing the game's doing its usual, slightly hidden loading there. You can sort of look around at textures. You can kind of make out there where the game's only loading in a certain proportion of the available textures. And for now, let's go ahead and land the plane. Nice and simple. And here we are on the planet's surface. So again, absolutely fine. For me, I noticed no slowdown at all. Although I did nearly just die. I'm not 100% certain how one gets back to one ship, but never mind, that's not for you guys to worry about. I think it's time to go on to our second to last game, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2, much like GTA 4, we include, because of a horrendously long load time, because the game front ends all the loading, but let's go into it for now. So again, Red Dead 2, we're doing a single player load. It's endgame, I should mention. There is a spoiler in this, if anyone that's not played Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm not going to refer to it, but there's a very clear spoiler. So if you haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2, as much as you might want to see your PlayStation storage upgraded, you might not want to watch this bit, and you might want to fast forward about 3 or 4 minutes, because There's a very clear spoiler right there in the game. But for now, let's load into the story mode in 3, 2, 1. So again, the loading time has improved on the PS5 SSD storage of this game, but we are still utilising a game that was built from the ground up in the PS4 generation. So do bear in mind that does mean the loading there is still going to be quite long. We're heading into Blackwater, and of course Blackwater from the first game, it's kind of one of the more civilized areas, not quite as good as Saint Denis, but there's still a lot of textures here, and we're just going to go into a building or two, kind of dot around a little bit, nothing too exciting, but ultimately just spend a little bit of time in the game, and then from there carry on. And so here we are, we're on the edge of Blackwater there, my horse is quite close by, and I fell into water, which isn't good because everyone knows John Marston can't swim. But for now, clearly my character has not done too well out of that, and for now let's make our way to an area of the game. Let's go into this saloon. Head in. Sorry about the clicks of the controller again. Order ourselves a drink. Why not? I'm sopping wet. Oh, someone is not happy with me. I fear things have not gone well in today's video. And my horse doesn't want to play the game anyway. But nonetheless, we can carry on from here, and maybe I'll have to sort that out in the next game. But the textures are all there. The AI is running fine. We're seeing no T-poses. We're seeing all the textures exactly how we like them. And yeah, overall, quite pleased with what we're seeing here. For me, it's running fine. It's doing what I would expect it to do. We're not seeing any slowdown. We're not seeing any texture problems. And ultimately, I think this game is doing exactly what I was expect it to, whether it was on the internal SSD or external. And for now, we can make our way onto our final game, which is Dead by Daylight, another PS4 title that's been upscaled. We're going to be doing an offline mode. We're going to be using play versus bots. So in this one, it's us just running around the map. I'm not going to do any kind of integral game level stuff. I'm literally just going to run around the map, just so we can check that the game's loaded in assets and it's not even difficulty while running all the AI at the same time as other things. So we're going to let the game load up there and head into that AI supported area. Lots of splash screen stuff here. Exactly the reason that we're not testing this game's load from the title screen, because it is painfully slow with loads of online connectivity stuff that it has to synchronize with other bits. So again, not really fair to compare the internal versus the expansion SSD here. But for now, what we want is just to get to the title screen and get things started. So again, we go into the get started mode, and from there we can go into survive with the bots and play from there. So again, nice and straightforward. We're loading into the game, making our way in, nice and easy. We're going to let it load up. Again, there's a few bits of AI, there's an enemy here, but what we are doing once again is just running around the map. We're not looking to do anything too heavy, we're just running around. The game is loaded. That felt, again, it's a pretty slow loading game for what it is, if I'm honest. I've seen a lot more impressive games load faster than this one. But for now, let's just run our way around the map, make our way in and out of the buildings, try not to get ourselves killed, and hopefully kind of see if this is in any way going to reflect any differences or difficulties between the internal SSD versus that of the WD Black SN850. So we're running through, making our way into this weird mill or plant or whatever it is. I want to say works of some kind. But, okay, so we've got another AI there. That can't be good. And they're blocking me jumping through a window. Okay, we're not going to blame the game, but we are going to say that was annoying. Carry on. We're outside the map. Yep, I think the game's running fine. I've seen no drop in textures, no drop at all in frame rate whatsoever. And for me, that's still a pretty impressive test. We're seeing no problems there. We're not seeing any murderers, in fact, which again is quite useful. But nonetheless, let's come out of this game and move these games back onto the internal SSD and talk a little bit about today's results. sort of remove games and apps. For those that aren't aware, it's very straightforward to move the games and apps. Go ahead, move all 5 over, 261 gig of data. Let's summarize. So again, once again, the WD Black SN850 has been a flawless test here. In all of our tests utilizing this SSD, it has never failed us. There's very few occasions where this has not been the fastest SSD in our testing, and it still continues to impress. So for those of you that bought the SN850 way back last year when the SSD first came out, or during Black Friday or Prime Day deals long before the PS5 enabled this setting, well done you. It's still a great SSD, and in terms of price versus what it does and its performance in general, it's a great SSD. Do stay tuned for further videos coming soon where we do our next barrage of tests and the next barrage of face-offs versus each of the new individual SSDs on these new series of games. Stay tuned for those. Do take advantage of the links in the description to each of the products that I've talked about, along with other Heatsinks as well. Today's video used the WD Black SN850 with its own inbuilt heatsink at 1 TB. And of course, click like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to learn more as we go through more tests to help you guys decide the best SSD for your PS5 upgrade before the PlayStation fully integrates this update. And of course, I will see you in the next video.